let's get to the main topic today, which is the Sharks captaincy. And obviously, in the closeout interview with Mike Greer last season, Greer said he's more than okay going through the season without a captain next year, and that's sort of the topic for discussion today. And so let's just get right into it. Um, what's a room like without a captain?
Um, I think we talked about this the other day off camera or whatever, and I didn't realize that. I think we had 1 year in San
Yeah, when you
Jose
got
without a
traded to
captain.
Tampa. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wait, when I got traded to Tampa, I didn't get
Yeah,
traded.
when you got traded to Tampa, or Tampa picked you up, Tampa didn't have a captain during that.
Oh,
half year.
that's what it was. My
Yeah,
first
yeah,
year
yeah.
in Tampa. That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. Vinny wasn't the captain yet, so I didn't
Yeah.
remember that. But I think I remember saying Anderchuk was there, and although he may not have
Right.
had a C on his sweater, he was pretty much the captain. Um, I think I talked about this with you guys. I think a captain needs to have certain attributes. Doesn't need to be the best player. Um, the main thing for me has to be the hardest working player.
Mm-hmm.
I think if your captain's not your hardest working player, how can you expect guys to follow him? So I think a captain needs to be your hardest worker. I think your captain needs to be a glue guy. Some of that's off the ice stuff. That's taking care of the young guys. Glue guy is what I call it. So, somebody that can bring the boys in, take care of the boys. And the last thing is needs to be the communication between the coach and the players, and needs to sometimes yell, scream at the boys, kind of going along with the coaches and kind of like, hey, fuck boys, let's wake the fuck up. We need to like whatever. But at times, I think what I've seen, especially with Anderchuk, with Tortorella, it's the other way around. A captain needs to step up for his team, and he needs to go toe-to-toe with the coach sometimes. Because believe it or not, Sharks fans, coaches don't know everything. They think they do, but they don't. And sometimes the captain needs to be kind of that person. You don't want to have the whole team going against the coach. That's not healthy. But if you can have one person, sometimes the assistants will go in there. Balance that fine line. It's just walking.
We got you. Hold on.
Oh no!
I got canceled.
It was a human centipede story.
Yeah.
No, it
30
was
minutes.
Ryan
delay.
Warsofsky.
It was going to happen. Yeah.
No, I
Warsofsky
think
saying, better listen to
Ryan
me.
Warsofsky.
I think I think you got to walk that fine line between being one of the boys, being hard on the boys, being that, and I think that's what a captain needs to do. And I'm sure there's a lot of little other things. You have to have earned it as well. I don't believe, although Sheng will tell me otherwise, there's been some 19-year-old captains, 20-year-old captains in the league before.
Yeah.
I'm not a strong supporter of that. I think you need to earn your stripes. You need to have played X amount of games. You need to have gone through some playoff runs. What does a 19-year-old rookie know about where the wives need to sit during the playoffs, or if we need to go in 2 days early in Minnesota because it's cold, or it's the rink is full. Like a rookie won't know this type of shit, and that's where I think somebody has to have played in the league for a certain amount of years, have a certain amount of games under their belt, experience, and then that person, I think, can be named the captain.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. There's definitely the thought of Macklin Celebrini being named captain, but let's save that, though. So, Zubair, you were about to ask something?
Yeah. So a couple of questions. I mean, you've obviously played with a lot of great captains, and you kind of are referring to like Andrew Chuck kind of standing out. Can you tell us a little bit about his captaincy and what stood out to you?
Yeah, he was here's a fourth line guy, right? Andy was probably 39 when I got there. He played 39, 40, so he was at the tail end of his career, but hardest working player. Wasn't the best player, worked his ass off, right? I mean, we all did, but like he worked his ass off. Great glue guy, was on the road, could be with one of the boys. Great storyteller, in on the plane, just great. But if we didn't play well, Andy would step up and we would listen. But we had the dynamic in Tampa where we had a coach, and John Tortorella, it was fucking tough. And there were days where Torts would come in, just let us have it. And then he would shut the door and go, fuck him. And it like brought the team together. So he knew he could walk that line where he could be our buddy, but he could also let us know, hey, we need to get our asses in gear. And that's not to say there weren't other captains that I played for, but having won the cup, that's going to happen. You're going to have favor that experience. And I was younger, right? When I was in San Jose, I was a little bit older, went through, I think, 3 different captains, but it wasn't as important to me as a 30-year-old player that had been in the league as it was when I was upcoming and young. I think a captain has a big responsibility with the young players, whereas I don't think a captain will play a huge role in a guy that's established coming in at 30. He will play a role for sure, but I don't think it's as important.
Wanted to mention about Andrzejczyk. One of the reasons why I think he was a guy that could stand up to a Tortorella is you mentioned that he was a fourth liner, and one of the hardest workers. But he also was at a certain point in his career. He was a 50 goal scorer.
He's a Hall of Famer, right?
He's a hockey Hall of Famer, so that definitely gave him a lot more cachet. But anyway, I was wondering though, Dan, any kind of classic stories that you can remember about Andrzejczyk and Tortorella, and just Dave standing up to him.
I don't remember which game. I remember one in particular, and it's nothing that jumps. I can't tell you what the team was. I remember Torts came in and just like lit us up, and he shut the door and he said, "Fuck him," like fuck Torts, like fuck that guy. And it was just like, whew. It was amazing. And I mean, I think Torts coached that way too a little bit. I think he knew what he was doing and firing us up. But it brought the team together. And so that's the one story. It's not a specific story. I don't remember what game it was. But I just remember that was who Andy was. And again, here he was a Hall of Famer. He's had how many, 50 goal seasons and all these accolades. And he's at the back of the plane, at the back of the bus, playing cards with us, talking shit with like 22-year-old kids back there. It was awesome. He was great. And he was a perfect captain.
That dynamic is interesting because, like, Torts obviously still has a coaching career now, like 20 years later, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's something to be said about that kind of style of, if they hate him, they can't hate each other, kind of thing. Like, you're all bonding together, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's different coaching methods, right? There's coaches that want you to play for them. I'm going to go through a wall for this guy.
Yep.
And I mean, maybe he's evolved. I mean, but it was more of like he wanted guys to play in spite of him. Like, fuck that guy, I'll show him.
Yeah.
Which worked. I mean, it worked, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say we got a Stanley Cup that says it does work? It's just, it's hard. Not every player can play through or for a coach like that. You have to have very thick skin. You have to have a lot of confidence in yourself, and you have to have a good united team because it can create some friction. And obviously we won a cup because we came together, in spite of him, but a lot of it was probably something he was trying to do, right? Years later, I kind of realized after I was retired, I was like, oh, okay, I think he was trying to do that or do that. I get it now, but I didn't get it at then.
That's brilliant. I love it. And what's interesting too, I find in all of what you were talking about in terms of a good captain is you really talk a lot about the off ice stuff. And I think a lot of fans are like, it's going to go talk to the refs, what's on the ice.
Yeah.
But you really are referring to a lot of like, hey, like travel planning and
there's
bringing the boys together.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit. I mean, rookies, making sure they're okay, but it's the stupid shit like. Why this one keeps coming to my mind, but like, where do the wives go in the wives' room? Is there alcohol in there? Or is there not? Are they allowed to come on the road? Are they not? Just shit that like you just shouldn't have to worry about. A good captain and a good leadership group will take care of that with the coaches, and with the new CBA, the CBA that I went through, we ended up getting days off, which was a huge for us, right? So now they're mandatory days off. I don't know if they're still in the same CBA now, but back then a coach we could land at 3 a.m., going to go back to Minnesota again or Buffalo, and he could have a 9 o'clock practice if he wanted to. Back when I started, now they can't do that anymore. That's where a captain's got to step up and say, "Fuck no, we're not doing that." And I think that's where Andy back in the day too was very good at having a good pulse and sticking up for us. He was great.
And that brings up a really good point too about the experience. I just can't see a 19-year-old and 18-year-old, standing up to a coach or leadership.
You can't. And I know Sheng's going to have his points for pro Macklin. I think. By the way, I think Macklin was amazing. I think not just because he was first overall, like he was everything I had hoped he was. He's very smart. That's my biggest thing with a player: work ethic and hockey IQ. He's amazing. I don't know him as a person, so I can't vouch for that. But as a player, absolutely, he will have a C one day. I just don't think it's today. I think it's too soon. I think he needs to get experience of going through some hockey seasons. He needs to go through the experience of playing in the playoffs, and then you give it a C. I think there needs to be some experience there.
I wanted to ask just in general, though, the experience of not having a captain. The Sharks, the last couple of years, Logan Couture has been the captain in name, but obviously he hasn't been around a lot. So anyway, when you have just alternate captains like the Sharks have had, is there a sense when you're going through a rough patch in the game that maybe nobody knows whose turn it is to speak up, that kind of feeling possibly happening?
Yeah, I think I think there's going to be a leadership core no matter what, whether you put in a letter on them now. You have your Toffoli, you have your Mario, you've got guys that I think, and again, I'm not on the team. I'm speaking from somebody who watches from the nosebleeds, right? Those guys seem to me like two guys that could step up and talk when they need to. The other thing that I didn't mention was, if you're going to name a captain, ideally you want him to be in your plans for the next couple of years. You don't want to be naming captains every 2 or 3 years. So
right. So maybe not Mario Ferraro.
So Mario, who I love watching. I love his work ethic. But where does he fit in 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Only the GM and the assistant GMs and the owners know that. I don't know what that plan is for him, but he seems to fit the mold from the nosebleeds, but you don't want to name a captain every 2 years, ideally.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how about, we talked a little bit about the off ice and a little bit about the on ice, but can you expand a little bit on the on ice? Like, what's the ideal captains that you've played with that exemplify leadership on the ice? What does that look like?
I think it's work ethic again. I'll go back to when I started. Again, for me, captains when I was younger were more important to me than, that's not to say Joe and Patty weren't, or McDonough my last year. It's just, for me, I remember Scott Mellenby was my first captain in Florida. I grew up as a Flyers fan, so I was kind of a little starstruck. But again, hardest worker on the ice. Was he our best player? No, but just set the tone, work ethic. And it doesn't mean he was the fastest. Andy was certainly not the fastest, but we would do these Tortorella like laps, and Andy had a hard time getting around the ice, but he worked hard. So on the ice, I think work ethic is fucking huge. And I've already said it about, that's going to be the word of the day. Every time work ethic, everyone has to shotgun a tequila or something. But I think on ice work ethic is huge, and knowing when to have a voice.
So 2 questions in one. Should the Sharks name a captain? And if so, who do you think would be a good idea if you had to choose?
So I don't know what the plan is for Mario. I'm not in the locker room, so that's where I struggle in talking about it, because I feel like the locker room will know a lot more than I do. Yes. I used to be in that locker room, and there would be the Sheng Peng saying, "Well, so and so should," and Sheng Peng doesn't know anything. He's not in the locker room.
Why am I the target? I'm just sitting here drinking my.
I know. I'm just fucking with you. I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. I don't know Tyler Toffoli. I don't know. I don't know what kind of, seemed like he had a good connection with the young guys. Is he the hardest working player out there? I don't know these things. So I think Mario and Toffoli are the 2 names that come to mind for me.
Of course.
And then who's the kid that just came back from? He's not a kid anymore, but he was with San Jose, left with New York, scored a big goal.
Oh yeah, that's actually what I was going to mention. That
Goodrow.
our little birdie
Goodrow.
may have said Barclay Goodrow to me.
Goodrow is another one. I don't know him, but it seems like he works hard. Does he have the respect of the room? These are the questions that I don't have the answers to, but those are the three guys that, if they just went with assistance with those three guys, I think that's okay. And then you give Macklin another year under his belt, see where we are next year, and then you go from there. I don't like giving it to him this year. I think it's too early, and I don't think it's the right move.
I did want to ask you about how tough it is for a kid to be a captain. And it's a different player, different experience. But the year before you came to Tampa, the Lightning had named Vinny Lecavalier. He was a 20-year-old to be the captain before that. And so anyway, just in general for a kid, and I think you alluded to it a little bit already, but just that this, it could be Macklin, it could be anybody, right? That they don't have that experience sort of saying F you to the coach, or even the details of that sort of thing, of just where the wives will sit and that sort of thing. And so with Macklin, then when do you think maybe then is the right time for him then? Like, if not this year, next year, 2 years from now?
No, I definitely, I don't think this year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm even hesitant to say the following year. But I would say by year 4, I think he'll have 80, 200 plus games under his belt. Hopefully, maybe a playoff series or two under his belt. I think 3 years. And back to your reference, Vinny got the C taken off, right?
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's added pressure that I don't think a kid, and he's a kid, needs. It's added pressure that he doesn't need. And he will be a captain one day. I think it's too soon. So I would say year 4.